It's been a few days of Marvel Rivals' second PvE mode being released, and holy, this mode is packed with a bunch of new content which I've been in love with. I've been playing it in my free time as much as I can, and I'm already like Nightmare 25 and level 36 on Blade. I want to give out my reviews so far on this mode, going with the strong points, my opinions on the features and structure of the mode, and comparing it to Marvel Zombies to say what they did well and what this mode sucks at. So with that, let's start with the main parts of this mode. The gameplay of Blood Hunt is an extremely good step up from its predecessor. Similar to Marvel Zombies, you have a small roster of heroes to choose from, and your objective is a simple go here, kill these guys, oh no, there's a bad guy, but he typically goes down really quickly. Then from there, you have all your different difficulties from normal, hard, extreme, and then the nightmare modes. Now the biggest change that the difficulty modes have is instead of the nightmare modes being the same thing but with more enemies and bosses having more health, making high endgames take extremely long, nightmare levels are reduced to a set 5 waves where you'll hold out for a set amount of time or kill a defined amount of enemies. This gameplay loop is the most peak way to improve the fact that Marvel Zombies used to make it so that you just went insane after a few Nightmare 5 runs because you wanted the Queenslayer title and then you just couldn't get it because you died on the last wave and then it was absolute hell to try to go through all that again. Now I don't have to set aside 3 business days to play 1 round of PvE and then lose because I actually became a skeleton and died mid-run. To account for the lack of content that's in a single run, though, Nightmare mode has been stretched to damn near 100 plus. 100 plus! I know if you're employed, this sounds like a lot, but don't worry, because upon completing a certain Nightmare difficulty, it unlocks the next 5 from the one you completed. If you beat Nightmare 5, then you unlock Nightmares 6 through 10. If you beat Nightmare 23, you unlock 24 to 28, and so on and so forth. But even then, there is one thing in my opinion that really does suck about the gameplay loop. Blood Hunt has a new way of making builds for heroes, and it sucks. For the employed. The biggest difference between Blood Hunt and Marvel Zombies is that now, leveling up one hero does not carry over to all the others. This means that basically, if you end up deciding to choose Punisher and max him out, then you decide to go switch to Moon Knight because you're bored or you realize that Punisher is still the same shitty dude from when he was in Marvel Zombies, then you'll have to take the same amount of time to pivot and build that hero back up again. Well, the amount of time that this mode has is 3 months, giving most people plenty of time to build up anyone that they want, probably even the entire roster. It just sucks that when you end up playing on higher levels for a long time, and then you have to pivot and go back to square one and be a level 1 crook or whatever. Putting that aside though, looking at how you build heroes in the new PvE mode, it looks a lot more like a skill tree. A lot of upgrades and stats, well, some making less sense than others. What the fuck does total output boost do? I swear this dev team can just make descriptions not make sense sometimes. And a lot of stats are able to be fine-tuned using the loot system. Oh no, not again. The loot system is my absolute least favorite feature of Blood Hunt. It's not because the loot system is a bad system on paper, but not only do you have to run a certain level back multiple times to get one specific item if you somehow get unlucky, but if you somehow end up getting an item that's super good, but the level it's at is greater than your current level, you just can't use it. I personally despise systems that bar you from using the stuff that you've earned. Don't give me items I can't use yet. If I wanted to be edged, I would just go to my local dominatrix and pay her, not play Blood Hunt in Marvel Rivals. Pair this with the already mentioned lack of level carryover, and you're basically playing different save files with multiple characters, which I find to be a bit much. Other games like The First Descendant have really similar looter shooter mechanics and a list of heroes you can choose from. I play this game from time to time, and when I have a new Descendant I want to play, I'm not forced to square one. Sure, I'm considerably weaker, but my weapons are high level, and I'm not necessarily barred from having to use those high level weapons, so leveling up a new hero is relatively easy half the time. It doesn't make it so that I have to go back to level 1 just to try the new hero and then basically play the story mode all over again just for one person. If they wanted to make you go back for each hero like this, lifting the guard with the gear would be a perfect way to have it in place. And if NetEase didn't like that, then maybe make it so that if you're of a certain level, you can get epic and legendary loot equipped to your character, and before you meet that threshold, you can only wear common, uncommon, and rare gear. Meaning that you can have a Moon Knight who's level 1 wearing level 16 gear, but he just can't wear legendary gear up until level 24 or 36 or some other threshold like that. With the way the system is right now, it's just extremely time consuming, and I'm still gonna play it because I'm an unemployed chud, but it's still a gripe that I absolutely despise. But what I don't despise is you taking the time to leave a like and sub to the channel if you're enjoying the video so far. I really want to become a Marvel Rivals content creator and make higher quality content, so your help is greatly appreciated. Thanks to you if you did, but let's get back to the regularly scheduled programming. Blood Hunt's bosses are actually insane, and I love all of them. This mode has 4 different bosses, all with really different attack patterns. First is Capwolf, who will just target a single person, dashing back and forth when he gets low. He'll also try to heal, but he low-key gets clapped pretty easily if you know how to look at a single target for more than 2 seconds. Next is Ratatoskr, and she's like Capwolf, being mostly melee, but having a Squirrel Girl stun and a really weird unavoidable dive. Third is Dracula, who will constantly swarm you with vampires and periodically summon swords around the area to make him basically invincible, but Moon Knight can typically use his giant AoE build and clear this area out really quickly. And then finally, we have Kingpin, who plays most like Wanda from Marvel Zombies, having hands that hurt, a suplex attack, and a DPS check that will one-shot anyone on the field if you don't clear it. But at that point, just get better gear, I guess. Like, shit. I like the fact that we have much more variation to bosses, but the fact that Ratatoskr and Kingpin specifically have extremely non-dodgeable attacks kinda pisses me off. Ratatoskr's dive can one-shot you under many circumstances if you're even just a little bit underleveled and don't have a bunch of stats tied to having damage reduction or overall health. And Kingpin's DPS check is only annoying because guaranteed death is just not fun at times, especially if you're running with a team and one member of your team is using Punisher or another hero that doesn't do a lot of damage, or is just generally an underleveled character, makes it so that you have to have a higher threshold to be able to clear this DPS check, despite one of your team members being on the lower end and not letting you clear it half the time. But you can at least clear Kingpin's DPS check by either playing solo with your own strong builds or just having your own strong builds with your team by min-maxing your heroes. Part of that would have to be utilizing the skill tree. Marvel Rivals expanded on the Marvel Zombie skill trees, and they cooked with this one. In the new system, there's a pink branch containing your basic abilities: more health, more damage, more health, what have you. Then you have the specialized abilities to the side that you can use to basically put yourself into one of 2 paths. You have to unlock at least one pink ability to move on to the next node, and then for the special abilities, you have to unlock the pink ability at least once on the same line. I like that they added a lot of the abilities from zombies that you would typically get in the cards mid-round, and then put them into the skill tree instead, and the way that the special abilities are basically locked by leveling milestones is a really nice touch to separate Nightmare 5 gameplay from Nightmare 25, Nightmare 50, and Nightmare 70. There's distinct phases as you progress, which I find it really entertaining to do, especially when you will very likely end up having to stick to one character, and it might get pretty mind-numbing if you end up playing for too long. The only thing I can criticize about this system, though, is that you still end up having extremely meta builds like Melee Moon Knight or Squirrel Girl doing whatever the fuck this is. But the general balancing of these builds makes all the ranged builds a pain in the ass to even bother trying to go with. Punisher, Thor, and Spray Jeff all suffer extremely badly, because why would I want to build that hero when Moon Knight is right there, easy to use at all levels, and it really isn't weak at any point in the game. It's just not really fun to play the other characters unless it's at a higher level once you already have them built. But no one's gonna want to do that because you have to grind every single hero individually. Like, this heavily limits the actual amount of builds that you end up seeing in game, which is the same problem Zombies had. Now everyone's gonna run Moon Knight, including me, because I'm not trying to be different by playing Thor on some straight BS and then be miserable playing it. Overall, this mode is a nice step up from its first generation PvE mode, but there's still plenty of things that can be fixed. An expanded hero roster, balanced heroes to where every single hero in the roster can be viable, bosses that don't have straight BS attacks, and less bias towards certain heroes. Maybe future PvE modes can improve on this, but that won't happen unless NetEase gives their devs more time, which is something to talk about for a different day. With that, please like, sub, comment what you think about Blood Hunt and what your main build is. I love you all, and I'm gone.